Welcome to the Sky Commander Flight Brief. It's your mission-ready podcast for drone pilot training and aerial insights across Canada.
From Transport Canada rules to real-world drone ops, we break it down, take you higher, and help you earn your wings. Because here at skycommander.ca, we don't just fly.
It hints there's more to it. It's a masterclass, a deeper level, maybe a philosophy or a community focus, perhaps.
It's definitely intriguing, sets them apart from just, a basic tips show. Skycommander.ca is the obvious next step. Precisely. If you're thinking about flying a drone in Canada, boom, this content is aimed right at you.
Powered by skycommander.ca.
The elite podcast for Canada's drone pilot. Okay, let's get started. Drones, they seem to be everywhere these days, right?
Absolutely. Delivering things, getting amazing video shots, checking out infrastructure.
Yeah, but for anyone actually flying one, especially, for work or research here in Canada, that cool factor, it pretty quickly runs into this wall of rules and acronyms.
It really does. The technology moves so incredibly fast, and Transport Canada's regulations, well, they're always playing catch-up, trying to keep pace, figuring out what you can actually do legally. It can feel a bit like trying to read some ancient script sometimes.
Exactly. And that's why we're doing this deep dive today. We've got a whole pile of material here, the official rules, CARS Part 9.
The Canadian Aviation Regulations.
Transport Canada's own guidance, some tricky compliance scenarios that people run into, even a bit of history.
And our job today really is to try and cut through all that complexity. We want to give you the essentials, point out the really key differences that maybe aren't obvious at first glance.
And help understand the why behind it all, not just the what.
Exactly. So you can fly safely, legally, and, with confidence.
Because it's not just about passing a test, is it? It's about knowing your responsibilities. You're a pilot under the Aeronautics Act, part of the whole aviation system. Every
single flight counts. And knowing these rules, well, that's the absolute foundation for flying safely.
Okay, so let's talk about that foundation. What are the main documents you absolutely need to know as a drone pilot in Canada?
Well, the core, the legal bedrock, if you like, is CARS Part 9. That's the actual law covering remotely piloted aircraft systems, or RPAS.
Okay, SARS Part 9, that covers everything. Operations, pilots, the drones themselves.
Pretty much. Who can fly, how the drone needs to be built, registered, how you operate it. It's all in there.
Got it. CARS Part 9X is the law. But, laws can be dense. What else helps?
Well, if you're aiming for certification, especially the advanced one, there's TP15263. Think of that as Transport Canada's official study guide.
The syllabus, basically.
Exactly. It lists all the knowledge areas they expect you to know. Air law, weather, navigation, emergencies, even human factors. It tells you what knowledge proves you're competent.
Okay, CARS Part 9X is the rule book. TP15263 is the study guide. Any other must-know resources?
Oh, definitely. Airspace is huge. You've got the Designated Airspace Handbook, the DAH, which details controlled airspace, special use areas.
Right.
Then for planning flights day-to-day, you're looking at tools like NAV Drone and, critically, the NOTAM system.
NOTAM's notices to airmen. Those are important.
Crucial. They announce temporary stuff, like restrictions that might not be anywhere else, and they always override other info. Always check NOTAMs.
And it all sits under the main Aeronautics Act, right? Which gives Transport Canada the power to make these rules.
That's the ultimate authority, yes.
Wow. Okay. That's quite a set of documents. Seems like understanding how they all mesh together is part of being a good pilot.
It really is. They're not separate things. They build the whole picture of flying safely and legally.
Speaking of different ways to fly, one of the biggest things people need to get their head around is the difference between basic and advanced pilot certificates. What does that actually change about how you fly?
It boils down to two main things, really. The airspace you can access and how close you can get to people who aren't involved in your flight.
Okay, let's start with basic. Where can a basic pilot fly?
A basic pilot is generally stuck in uncontrolled airspace. That's mostly Class G. And crucially, they have to stay at least 30 meters horizontally away from anyone not directly part of their crew.
So 30 meters back from bystanders?
Yes, and absolutely never fly directly over people.
Okay, basic. Class G, 30 meters away, never over. What about advanced? What doors does that open?
Advanced lets you operate in controlled airspace classes, C, D, and E. That's the kind of airspace you usually find around airports with air traffic control.
But you need to talk to ATC, right?
Absolutely. You need coordination. And the distance rule changes quite a bit. An advanced pilot can fly closer than 30 meters to bystanders and potentially even fly over people.
But hang on. There's a huge but there, isn't there? It's not just having the advanced certificate.
You are absolutely right. And this is probably the single biggest point of confusion we see. Having the advanced certificate alone does not let you fly close to or over people.
So what else do you need?
You must be using a drone, an RPAS, that Transport Canada has specifically certified for those kinds of operations flying near or over people. Your certificate's about your knowledge, your skill. The drone certification is about its safety features and reliability for those riskier flights.
That's a massive distinction. Okay, we definitely need to come back to that compliant drone thing. So advanced gets you into controlled airspace with permission.
Right, with coordination.
And the possibility of flying closer or over people, but only with the right drone. How do you actually get these certificates?
For basic, it's simpler. You pass an online exam from Transport Canada.
Okay.
For advanced, it's a bit more involved. You need to pass the harder online. Advanced exam covers more from that TP15263 guide.
Right.
And you have to pass an in-person flight review, a practical test with an authorized flight reviewer. Plus, you need to be at least 16.
Flight review, okay. Are there any, little tricky distance rules hidden in there?
Yes, some specifics can catch you out. For instance, a basic pilot, they might be way out in Class G, miles from an airport, thinking they're clear.
Yeah.
But if there's a heliport nearby, even in Class G, they still need to stay 1 nautical mile away. That's almost 2 kilometers.
1 nautical mile from a heliport, even for basic and Class G.
Yeah, for advanced pilots, even if they're cleared by ATC near an airport, say within 3 nautical miles or 1 nautical mile of a heliport, they still must have done a proper site survey beforehand, documented.
Okay, lots of details. So that covers the main documents and the pilot certificates. Let's switch to the actual flying part. What are the absolute must-dos, the operational rules for every flight?
Number 1, without a doubt, visual line of sight, VLOS.
VLS, that means...
Being able to see your drone with your own eyes. No binoculars, not just watching the camera feed. You need to be able to tell its position, its altitude, speed, which way it's pointing, and spot any hazards near it, just by looking at it.
So using those FPV goggles, the first-person view, that's not VLOS by itself.
Correct. FPV is only okay if you have a visual observer, a VO, standing right there with you. Someone whose only job is to keep actual VLOS on the drone and tell you immediately if there's a problem.
And if you want to fly beyond where you can see it, BVLOS.
It needs special permission. You need an SFOC, a Special Flight Operations Certificate.
SFOCs again. Are they basically for anything non-standard?
Pretty much, yeah. If your operation doesn't fit neatly into the normal Part IX rules, like flying a drone swarm, doing BVLS, if you're a foreign pilot flying here, operating in certain special use airspaces, Class F, or near an emergency scene, you typically need an SFOC.
So it's like a custom permission slip from Transport Canada.
Exactly. You present your plan, your safety case, and they decide whether to approve that specific operation.
Got it. What about weather? Can't just pop it up in a foggy morning, right?
Definitely not. There are strict weather minimums, mostly borrowed from manned aviation rules. You need at least 3 statute miles of visibility.
3 miles viz. Okay.
And you need to stay clear of clouds, at least 500 feet vertically below any cloud, and 2,000 feet horizontally away from any cloud.
500 below, 2,000 horizontal.
Yes. Flying in fog, mist, or getting too close to clouds is a definite no-go. Illegal.
Right. What about flying at night? That used to be forbidden, didn't it?
It did.
Yeah.
Big change back in 2021. Night operations are legal now under Part 9s.
But with conditions, I assume.
Oh, yes. Your drone needs position lights, ones that are visible for at least 3 statute miles, and that mandatory pre-flight site assessment. It has to specifically look at the risks of flying in low light and how you'll manage them.
And if you have a visual observer?
They need to be able to see the drone in the dark, too. Maintain that VLOS.
Okay, so night flying needs lights and extra planning. What else is super important for every flight?
Emergency procedures. As the pilot in command, you're legally required to know what you'll do if something goes wrong.
Like losing the signal?
No.
Or it just flies away?
Exactly. Lost link, fly away, loss of control. You need a plan and immediate action you'll take. And if something serious does happen, like hitting something, causing injury, or forcing another aircraft to dodge you, you have to report it to Transport Canada immediately.
Yeah.
And log it.
Logs. That brings us to record keeping. Sounds like it's more than just jotting down where you flew.
Much more. You need a maintenance log if work's done on the drone. And crucially, a flight log for every single flight. Date, time, location, who was flying, plus records of any incidents.
And how long do you keep those?
Minimum 12 months.
You said they have to be available. What does that mean practically? Like if an inspector shows up?
It means right there, on site. If they ask to see your logs, your certificate, your site survey, you need to be able to show it to them then and there.
Not, oh, it's back at the office, I'll email it.
Nope, that's not compliant. It needs to be accessible during the operation. Whether it's a paper logbook or on your tablet, it has to be available. Not logging flights. That can get you fined, even void your insurance.
Okay, available means right there. Got it. Last bit on operations, registration and markings.
Right. If your drone weighs between 250 grams and 25 kilograms, which covers most professional drones, it needs to be registered.
Where do you do that?
Through Transport Canada's drone management portal online, you get a unique registration number.
And that number goes on the drone?
Yes. It has to be clearly visible and durable. Like permanent marker is okay. A sticky label that might peel off in the rain, not so much. It needs to stay put and be readable.
Visible and permanent marking. Okay, let's circle back to that really key point about flying near or over people, the compliant RPAS thing.
Yes, this is so important. Honestly, it catches out a lot of pilots, even experienced ones, when they first get their advanced certificate.
Because they think the certificate is all they need.
Exactly. Like we said, the advanced certificate proves you have the knowledge and skill for complex ops, maybe closer to people. But the rules also look at the risk from the drone itself. What happens if it fails?
So the drone itself needs a certain safety rating.
Precisely. Transport Canada maintains a list of specific drone models they certified. These meet higher safety standards specifically for flying near or over people.
And there are categories.
Two main ones. Category 1 compliant drones are certified for flying directly over people. Category 2 compliant drones are certified for flying near people. That means closer than 30 meters horizontally, but not directly over them.
Wow. So let me get this straight. I could have my advanced certificate flying a really expensive, sophisticated drone. But if that specific model isn't on Transport Canada's compliant list?
Then you still cannot legally fly it closer than 30 meters to bystanders or over them, period. Even with your advanced ticket, you have to operate it distance-wise from people as if you only had a basic certificate.
So it's a two-part key. The right pilot certification and the right drone certification for those higher risk flights.
That's the perfect way to put it. Pilot skill plus certified equipment.
Okay, that makes total sense from a safety perspective. Which leads to another really vital distinction. Who actually counts as crew versus just a bystander? Because that changes those distance rules completely, doesn't it?
Absolutely critical, especially if you're doing commercial work. The definition of a crew member or person involved in the operation is very specific in the regulations.
So it's not just anyone helping out?
No, it's the remote pilot in command, RPIC, any official visual observers, and crucially, anyone else who has been formally briefed on the flight plan.
Briefed, okay.
Who has been assigned a specific role, is fully aware of the plan and the risks involved, and importantly, has consented to be part of the operation.
So my buddy watching me fly, even if he's, say, holding landing pad, he's not crew unless I've done that whole briefing, role assignment, awareness, consent thing.
Correct. If they haven't gone through that process, legally, they are a bystander, and that triggers all the standard distance rules.
And what's the difference in practice? How close can you get?
Bystanders need that separation. 30 meters minimum for basic or closer for advanced, only if you have that compliant drone. Category 2 near, Category 1 over. And generally, no flying directly over bystanders without a Category 1 drone, maybe even an SFOC for big crowds.
Okay, that's bystanders. What about actual crew members?
Because they're briefed, aware, and consented, there's no fixed minimum horizontal distance requirement for crew.
Really? None?
None specified in the regulation. You can fly closer than 30 meters, even directly over a briefed crew member, as long as it's done safely and you've accounted for the risks in your planning and site survey.
Wow, so a properly briefed visual observer could literally stand right under the drone's flight path.
Legally, yes, if the operation is deemed safe and planned that way.
But someone just standing nearby, not fully briefed, they need to be 30 meters away. Unless you have the certified drone, that's a huge difference.
It's massive. And it really highlights why documenting your crew briefings is so important. Showing who was briefed, what their role was, that they consented. That's your proof if anyone asks why someone was close to the drone. It needs to be in your site survey documentation too.
Document everything. Got it. Okay, we've laid out the rules, the certificates, the key definitions. Let's try and pull it together with some real-world examples. The source material had some great scenarios where pilots get tripped up. Let's walk through a few.
Yeah, these are good because they often involve several rules bumping into each other. They show where the less obvious bits matter.
Okay, scenario 1. You've got your advanced certificate. You have a nice drone, but it's not on Transport Canada's compliant list. You decide to fly it, say, 70 meters up over a public park where some people are having a spontaneous picnic just to get a wide establishing shot. An AV drone said the airspace was clear, legal or not?
Not legal. Absolutely not.
Why not? You're high up, advanced certified.
Because you're flying over people, an assembly of people. Even though you're high up, your drone isn't certified for operations over people. You need both the pilot's advanced certificate and a Category 1 compliant RPAS for that. The pilot cert alone isn't enough.
Right. Pilot and drone compliance. Okay, scenario 2. Quick job, basic certificate. You check, yep, it's Class G airspace. But looking at a map, you see a small heliport symbol, just say 0.7 nautical miles away. NAV drone didn't flag it for your basic flight. Can you fly?
Still illegal. Basic operators have to stay at least 1 nautical mile clear of any heliport. Doesn't matter if it's Class G.
That 1 NM heliport rule again.
Exactly. And it shows you can't just rely on one tool like NAV drone. You need to look at charts, check NOTAMs. NAV drone is helpful, but it's not the final legal word on everything. Lesson: always cross-reference your airspace info.
Good point. Don't trust just one app. Scenario 3. Advanced pilot, non-compliant drone again, flying low, maybe 20 meters, over an empty field. But right next to the field is a busy highway and a parking lot with cars pulling in and out. Are you okay?
Probably not okay. Even if the field itself is empty, flying low right next to, or potentially drifting over, a busy road or a parking lot with occupied vehicles, that's generally treated like flying over people or nearby standers.
Because people are in the cars.
Yes. People and cars count as people. Unless that road or parking lot was officially closed off and cleared of traffic and people, or you had a Category 1 drone or maybe an SFOC, flying that close is likely a violation. Lesson: roads, parking lots, if they're active, treat them like areas with people.
People and cars count. Key takeaway. Scenario 4. You know this industrial site, like the back of your hand? Flown there dozens of times. You're running a bit late one day, so you think, I know this place. And you skip doing the full documented site survey before launching. Then you hit some temporary scaffolding that went up overnight. Violation. Even though you couldn't have known it was there.
Yes, absolutely violation. The rules, CCARS 901.27, specifically say you must conduct a site survey before every flight to check for hazards, airspace, weather, plan emergencies. Skipping it is a violation in itself, regardless of whether you hit something or not.
So familiarity doesn't excuse a survey?
Not at all.
Yeah.
Lesson: site surveys are legally required every single time you fly, no exceptions.
Every flight, every survey. Got it. Scenario 5, weather check. Visibility is great, like 5 miles. But the cloud base is hovering just 200 feet above your planned maximum flight altitude of, say, 300 feet AGL.
Yeah.
You go?
No, still illegal. You need that 500 feet vertical separation below clouds.
Not just horizontal.
Right, you need 500 feet below AD, 2,000 feet horizontal. If the clouds are only 200 feet above your max altitude, you bust the vertical minimum. Lesson: cloud clearance numbers are hard limits. No fudging.
500 below, 2,000 horizontal. Okay. Scenario 6. You did everything right before takeoff, checked NAV drone, checked NOTAMs, all clear. You're 10 minutes into the flight, and suddenly NAV Canada issues an emergency NOTAM closing your airspace for some unexpected reason, like military activity. Do you have to land right away, even if you only find out mid-flight?
Yes. Legally, you must land as soon as safely possible. Your responsibility is to comply with current NOTAMs. Even if you checked before, if a new restriction pops up, you have to react. Continuing to fly in restricted airspace is a violation.
So you need a plan for that possibility too.
Exactly. Lesson: NOTAMs take immediate effect, and you need to be prepared to change your plan, including landing, based on new information.
Makes sense. Scenario 7. Complex flight, advanced ops, you've got a visual observer. They're there, looking generally towards the drone, but maybe they've got headphones on, listening to music, glancing at their phone now and then. Compliant.
No way. Not compliant. The VO's job is safety critical. They have to be actively scanning the sky around the drone, totally focused, and able to communicate instantly with the pilot if they see anything.
So distracted VO, non-compliant operation.
Absolutely. Headphones, phone checking, that means they're not fulfilling their duty. Lesson: your VO needs to be 100% engaged, briefed, and ready to communicate.
VOs need to be truly observing. Okay, scenario 8. Drone registration, you put the number on with a nice sticker, but after a few flights, maybe some damp weather, the corner starts peeling up, making the number a bit hard to read. You fly anyway. Problem.
Yes, potentially a problem. The rule says the marking must be clearly visible and durable. If the sticker is peeling and becoming illegible, it's arguably not meeting the durable standard anymore. You need something that stays put and stays readable.
Like paint or an engraved plate, maybe.
Exactly. Something permanent. Lesson.
Yeah.
Maintain your markings. Don't just stick them on once and forget about it.
Keep those markings clear and secure. Scenario 9. Inspector shows up on your job site. Let me see your flight log, maintenance records, site survey doc. And you realize you left the binder back at the office. Violation.
Yes. Big violation and a common one. All those required records must be available on-site for inspection. Saying, I can email it later, doesn't cut it.
So available means physically present.
Physically accessible right then and there.
Yeah.
Lesson. Keep your essential flight documents with you during operations.
Available means available.
Got it.
Last one, scenario 10. Launching from a tall building rooftop, say it's 100 meters high, you fly the drone up another 20 meters, so you're 20 meters above the roof. Are you within the 400-foot AGL limit, which is about 122 meters?
Maybe, maybe not. Depends on the ground below the drone. That 400-foot AGL limit means above ground level.
Not above launch level.
Exactly. It's measured from the elevation of the terrain directly underneath the drone at that moment. If the building's on a hill and the ground drops away sharply beside it, you could easily be much higher than 400-foot AGL, even if you're only 20 meters above the roof you launched from.
Ah, so you need to know the ground elevation below the flight path.
You do. Lesson. AGL means above the ground directly beneath the drone, which might be very different from your takeoff point elevation.
That's a subtle one, but really important. Wow, these scenarios, they really show how interconnected these rules are and how easy it could be to mess up if you don't know the details.
They really do. And it sort of highlights why just memorizing rules for the exam isn't enough. You need to develop more of an expert mindset.
Okay, what does that mean? An expert mindset.
It's about more than just checking boxes. It's understanding the reason behind the rules, actively thinking about risk. It means knowing your own limits and the conditions limits. Recognizing when, even if it's technically legal to fly, it might not be wise or safe.
Like if the weather's borderline or maybe too many people wandering around unexpectedly.
Exactly. And being willing to say, no, not flying today or landing now if things change mid-flight. Transport Canada values that kind of conservative, safety-first decision-making.
So sometimes the safest, most compliant action is just not flying.
Precisely. Another big part of it is that documentation we keep talking about.
The logs, the surveys.
Yes. They're not just paperwork. They are your legal backup.
Yeah.
If something goes wrong, an incident happens, and Transport Canada or someone else investigates, those records show your planning, your diligence, your decision-making process. They can literally be evidence for you or against you.
Thinking of logs as potential legal evidence definitely adds some weight to keeping them properly.
It should. And understand, the tech in many drones logs flight data internally, path, altitude, speed. Your written log should match that reality. Knowing the history helps too. Why did Part IX come in back in 2019? How did incidents influence rules about flying over people? Why did night ops become allowed? Understanding that evolution helps you grasp the priorities and maybe even anticipate where things might go next.
It gives you the context, the why.
Right. And some of those interesting facts, they underline the safety thinking, that 400-foot AGL limit. It's primarily about staying predictable and below where most manned aircraft fly. They usually stay above 500 feet AGL. Reduces collision risk.
Okay, separation from manned aircraft.
And why are those specific Category 1 drones needed over people? Because the physics are brutal. Even a small drone falling from relatively low altitude can cause serious injury. Those certified drones have proven, through testing, that they have features to mitigate that specific risk.
Right, it's about the potential impact.
And just remembering that as an RPAS pilot under the Aeronautics Act, you are legally considered a pilot. You face similar responsibilities and potential enforcement as someone flying a small plane. It's not a toy.
That really frames the responsibility, doesn't it?
It absolutely should. So that expert mindset, it's a mix of knowing the rules, yes, but also diligent planning, thorough documentation, understanding the risks, and always prioritizing safety.
Well, this has been a fantastic deep dive. We've really unpacked a lot. The core regulations and documents like CARS Part IX and TP 15263.
The basic versus advanced differences in airspace and proximity to people.
Those critical operational rules, VLOS, weather minimums, night ops, emergencies.
The absolute necessity of having a compliant RPAS for flying near or over people, not just the pilot certificate.
Clarifying who counts as crew versus bystander, which is huge.
Walking through those common pitfalls with the scenarios.
And finishing up with the importance of that expert mindset, documentation, and understanding the why.
Yeah, the goal wasn't just to read out the rule book. It was to help you, the listener, see how these pieces fit together in the real world, why they matter, hopefully making you a safer, more compliant, and just more knowledgeable pilot overall.
And ultimately, a better participant in keeping Canada's skies safe for everyone.
Exactly. And remember, this technology isn't standing still. Drones get smarter, capabilities change, and the regulations will continue to evolve alongside them. The responsibility to stay informed, to keep learning, and to always manage the risks. That always rests with you, the pilot. Your logs, your knowledge, your decisions, they're your most vital tools out there.
That's a wrap on today's mission, Commander. See above, go beyond, get ahead. For more training, tools, and intel, head to skycommander.ca. If you learned something new, share it, subscribe, and leave us a 5-star debrief.